All right, everybody, welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance Chat and Chow. This is Tony Demakis, as always, from Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, where we do everything that has to do with mold maintenance. I believe we're the best in the country at it, but that's just my opinion. We do everything from polishing to laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner manifold cleaning, preventative mold maintenance, and then we also build and sell laser welding and laser engraving equipment based on what your needs are. That's it in a nutshell. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So if you need something, let us know. The only thing we don't do is build molds. I'm wicked excited today because since we started the Manufacturing Alliance podcast, I've been trying to get this guy to do a show with me. And we've had Susan and she's been great. And we've talked to Rachel and she's been great. But Troy Nix is joining me today. And if you've ever been to an AMBA conference or a MAPP conference or anything like that, Troy is the man. Mr. Nix, welcome.
Hey, Tony, what's going on, man? I don't know if I'm the man or not. That's an interesting intro, but I'm here.
Well, who else would be the man when it comes to all those things?
Man, I don't know. That's interesting right there.
So what's going on? You look nice and tan. Looks like you've been outside.
Not really. Actually, last night, it was a really, really long day. And I got home from a brief workout and I went and I just sat in the sun and closed my eyes and literally just tried to decompress. So I think I got a little sun by doing it.
How did that work out for you? The decompression part?
Not good. Not good. It's I don't do it enough. If people know me, it's kind of 100% all the time. Go.
Yep.
And it's that the wife is always saying, man, just relax, just figure out a way to relax. And I am, man. And the older I get, the more I'm trying to figure out how do people do it. And I struggle with it all the time, man. It's because I don't like to be this way all the time.
So are you like me where you're relaxing is actually doing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much. I do stuff because I'll be honest. It's just like when I grew up, it's that concept of when you're doing nothing, there's several things that are going through my head. Number one is I'm wasting time. And if you've heard me speak in the past, you know how I feel about time. Hell, I had a staff meeting this morning. And when I ended the staff meeting, just to try to get people to lock in on what is going on in their life and how fast time is going. My daughter turns 24 tomorrow. She's my middle daughter. Yeah, thank you. But, I look at that and I'm like, what happened to 24 years, man? It's gone. It's gone. So in the staff meeting, they said, hey, she turns 24. And I said, whether you have kids that are dropping ice cream on you tomorrow, right? Yep. Or you're going out on a date, whatever it is, man, live in the moment. And so I am trying to do a better job of living in a moment because, Tony, man, it's just like that and you're done.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. The hard part for me, and Timothy Stoll from Arm and Tool, he's been good about telling me to do this.
Yeah.
I don't like sitting still. It makes me crazy. So I like even if we go on vacation, I don't want to sit on the beach. I want to go play in the water. I want to go swim with the dolphins. I want to go rock climb. I want to ride my bike. I don't want to sit. My wife would prefer to sit on the beach and read a book or sit by the pool or do whatever. And that's fine. So a lot of times we spend our vacations together, but apart. So she'll do what she wants and I do what I want. And then we meet together for lunch or dinner. That's kind of how that works.
I love it. I'll do the beach thing. Just put a little tequila in my glass, though. I do enjoy very good drinks,
Well, that's doing something then. And generally, if you have too much of that tequila, you end up doing other things, whether that's,
Yeah, that can lead to something too, right? Yeah. But the other part of this is when I'm doing nothing, I feel guilty.
Do you?
Yeah, I feel like I should be doing something. This could be a Seinfeld episode.
Well, what Timothy told me, and whoever's watching, I don't know what your religious denominations are, but it's biblical to rest. And Timothy challenged me and he said, the greatest leader that's ever been took naps more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And especially when things got difficult, he took naps because he wasn't worried.
Yeah.
Everybody else is panic stricken and going crazy. And Jesus in the bottom of the boat taking a nap, going, listen, it'll work out. It's all good.
Yeah,
Rest.
dude, settle down. Settle
Rest.
down. It's all right.
Rest.
Yeah. That's good. That's funny, man.
It doesn't make it easier for me to rest, but it's what he told me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So you have a new book out.
Yeah.
And what is the title of this book? I'm going to pull up your book picture real quick. If you want to start, tell us a little bit about it. I'm going to find, I put it here somewhere. I got it in a safe place. So go ahead. Here's a.
First of all, you're going to see the title.
Yeah.
I will tell you that coming up, that was the last thing that I did. I've never been through this process before. And coming up with the title was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I mean, even harder than naming my children. It was tough, man. But you know what? It has a great ring to it and it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
And so the process for me started well over 5 years ago. And it's interesting. I was actually at a conference. We hired a speaker. Okay. And I think you've seen the speaker. His name is Jack Daly.
Yep.
And great sales coach, great sales presentation. Well, we hired him several times. And I remember like on the second or third time, I got done doing my opening and I walked off the stage and he was walking up and he grabbed me by the arm and he goes, "You need to write a book, man." He goes, You've got some really interesting stories that impact people and you're a good speaker. Yeah. And at the time I just went over my head because I'm all stressed out, me on time and trying to get the conference, making sure everybody's getting value out of it. And sure enough, man, like a year later, I ran into him, came off the stage and he goes, "You've written a book yet?" And I was like, "No." And there's something about Daily you never want to do, man. He goes, "Why haven't you?" I said, I don't have enough time. And he looked at me and goes, "I don't have enough time." Right. He just nailed, because this guy's flying all over the world. He's doing Ironman competitions. You don't have time. So I started the process. And I literally spent a year. I had like a 35-page outline. I was getting coached. And I took the outline and I threw it away.
Yep.
You know why I threw it away? Come on, you know me.
Because it wasn't right.
Self-doubt.
Oh, okay.
Why would anybody want to read this? Who am I?
Yep.
Why would somebody pick up my book and listen to me and my stories and what I've taken? Why? Right. So I threw it away. I have no value to give.
Right.
And I've talked in the past about where that concept of value or non-value actually comes from. And each one of us can go back in our past into our childhood, and sooner or later it will reveal why we carry this baggage around with us. So anyway, long story short, I got another nudge and a phone call, and I said, okay. So in like December of 17, I made a trip to Charleston, and the publisher had me in a conference room, and they took me through everything. And then at the very end, Tony, they said, "Give us your credit card." And I'm like, "What?" This is how they close business. I'm like,
"Give us your credit card." They're asking you for their credit card. Okay.
Because we're gonna have you have skin in the game before you leave this office. So any salespeople, maybe that's a good sales technique because it got me. And I'm like, okay. So now that I have skin in the game, they basically put a timeline, and the timeline was July 1st of 2018. I would have a finished book.
Okay.
So I published this in March of 2020.
Ooh, how much did that cost you?
Too much. Way too much. But I finally got it out, right? And in the year and a half, and I'm giving the long phrase of this because I think it's important if anybody's watching to understand what self-doubt will do to you.
Oh, it's crippling.
Crippling. It took me a year and a half longer than I was supposed to do it, to the point where the publisher called me and said, "You have to the end of this month or this whole thing is off." And I've been working on it almost for 2 years now, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get going. So I did. And I'm going to tell you something that nobody knows. And I can't believe I'm going to share this live right now. So hopefully there's only like, a couple people watching. And
nobody watches this.
Yeah, I know. Man, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is kind of crazy. So in October of last year, I'm in the office on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Because it's 7 days a week, man. There's always something to do. There's always more value to provide, right? And I don't have that turn off switch. And it was at this time that I was reaching out to get acknowledgments, right? Yep. When you open a book, there's acknowledgments. And I'm like, so guess who I reached out to for an acknowledgement?
The guy that busted your stones. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. And he had, so what you do when you get an acknowledgement, you usually send like an overview, maybe chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 5 or something like that. And so he had the chapters for probably a week or 2 weeks. And I get this email. And the email said, this book isn't good enough for me to endorse.
Oh. That's got to help that self-doubt.
So I took my 100 and some pages that were before me during that, and I wasn't expecting that. I had some more writing to do. I was trying to fine tune some chapters. I took it, dropped it into this, shut my computer down, and walked out. Done. I'm freaking done. That was a dagger.
Yeah.
Whew. So later on that evening, I think it was later that evening, my daughter Maria, 23 years old, who's kind of my co-author, she was the one, you know, and another vantage point or something that those who are watching have to understand. And this is why you can't do anything yourself. You need support.
Oh.
And she goes, I mean, she's with me. She's like, Dad, this is unbelievable. And she's a reader. She just read a 400-page book on Saturday. It took me 3 hours to read 50 pages, and she read a 400-page book in the same time. I mean, this is how good she is.
That's not fair.
It's not fair. And she goes, Dad, she goes, you can't listen to this. Your book is unique. It's not a business book. It's a book to help people understand what they can do when they come on to turmoil, when life throws them all those curveballs, and it's not structured like his books are structured, and he doesn't get it. And so I ended up calling the publisher that night. So it's late Sunday night. Obviously, I didn't get through. I left messages. Hey, man. And this happened to be the same publisher that Jack went through his book.
Yep.
And they got on the phone with me, and they knew I was really upset. And Jack said, you're letting me down. That Jack basically said, the publisher's letting you down. And so they went, whoa, Troy, hold on here. Let's back up a little bit, right? Because there's differences here. And he may not understand what you're trying to accomplish, and came into this understanding that it was going to be a book about this, and really it's not. And so through all the coaching, but through my 23-year-old daughter, Maria, it was keep going, but make it better. And so what I did was I took and you know, Jack went through twice and gave me a whole page of recommendations. So I sucked it up. I went back to this, got it back out, and said, quit being a damn wimp, make it better.
Yep.
So I went back to the keyboard, I looked at his feedback, and I started making it better. And you know what? He made it better.
Yep.
But here's what I didn't do. Another thing, it's almost like I'm doing confession right now live.
You're welcome.
Oh yeah, this is freaking horrible.
I'm gonna send you my psychiatrist pill. It's okay.
I didn't have the gumption. I didn't have the guts. I didn't have the faith to send it back to him to say, will you endorse it now? If you would give me the chance to redo this, I would have done that differently. I think I would have said, hey, come on, throw it at me again. I use your advice, throw it at me again. If you say no, okay. But I didn't do that. So I feel kind of cowardly, but I didn't want any more, man. I just didn't want any more.
Yeah.
You know, almost like I was a plebe at the military academy again, right? It's like, I don't need any more, man. I'm not standing at attention anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm too old for that. That's it.
I love, I love inspirational quotes and all that stuff. That's why we started doing the motivational Mondays here too, just to put more positivity out there. I think it's so easy to live in a negative space because you're bombarded with it all the time. Like, daily sending you that message saying it's not good enough. Like you're right. It's not, but that's not the end of the story. That's just a speed bump to get you through to be better. I think that's the challenge with everything. I just, I do a series of blog writings too. Just things that come in my mind, things that happen through life. And the last one I wrote was a difference between can't and can too, because in my family, we don't say can't, we say can too. And then it came to me, the difference between can't and can too? It's,
No, go ahead.
oh, that's it. It's just, oh, it's that aha moment. That's the only difference. And then you go through it and you do it. So I hate when people, and I know hate is another one of those ugly words, right? But I hate when people say can't, because it's limiting. It's telling people that this is as far as I can go. I don't have the ability. No matter how much time or effort I put into it, I will never have that ability. That's what can't means. And it's just not true. Unless you're a man and you want to get pregnant, you cannot do that. That is not going to happen. I don't care what anybody says. That's not a thing. But other than that, I mean, it's just tenacity and going forward and getting after it.
Yeah. Something I am thankful. I'm thankful that he did it because he made it better. And I think this is that concept in life, right? And I tell people you need to stop and self-reflect. So, self-reflecting back on that moment, I had the option, and I always look at myself as I think my ego's in check. I really do. I'm proud of that. I know where I came from. And I think that the ability to self-reflect, take it back out of the garbage, use his feedback to make it better. Yeah. I'm proud that I did that. Right.
You should be.
I think that, or I could have left the email and said, screw you. What do you know? Right. But I think I've always done that. In the book, one of the things I said is one of the biggest compliments I've ever received in my entire life. My high school football coach, I remember I did something one time and he grabbed me by the face mask. He said, "Nix, you are so coachable." And for me and for the line of work that I ended up being in, surrounded by all these amazing people that run amazing businesses that are so smart, is to be able to, what I feel to be a very coachable person, and to just listen and learn, and watch leadership from the front and be able to emulate that. Man, I'm fortunate. I am very fortunate to be sitting in this chair.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a guy the other day. We were talking about sales and everything, and he asked me if I thought I had an ego. And I had to take a pause and think about it. And I said, I think I'm confident, but I don't think I know everything. I know I don't know everything. And I want to constantly learn and get better. I'm open to feedback. When people watch this, they can tell me I suck. And I've said that before. You can give me whatever feedback you want. The only thing is, don't say stop, because I'm not going to, because I enjoy doing it. So if nobody else likes it, I'm good with that. It gives me an opportunity to talk with you. So if it wasn't for this small platform, you and I wouldn't be having a conversation today. We wouldn't be sharing. And maybe one person watches this and they take one nugget out of one thing. It's totally worth the time and the effort and the experience. So I don't care, but I want to get better. And it's not because I need the attention. It's because, you have a message that you want to share. Hillary Coombs is on here. Charles is on here. Rachel is watching. There's other people that are not putting their names in, but put your names in, make some comments. Tell us what you think. Tell us what's going on.
So it's interesting that you bring that up. That concept of, what we're doing right now might impact one person. So it took me, what ended up getting me over the hump. I had yet to write my prologue, and I was really struggling with the chapters, man. And because it was this self-doubt. And one day I came in, man, and my thoughts were, were hitting my fingertips as fast as I could type. And I wrote my prologue, and it starts off, who am I to write this book, right? And I talk about the real heroes of the world. Yeah, some of my soldiers in arms right now who aren't here anymore, right?
Yep.
The true heroes in the police and fire and the healthcare workers and the doctors and the scientists who are finding cures for cancer and all that. Who am I?
Right.
And so I started writing my prologue, and I said, I'm nowhere near what these people and these professionals are doing to move our society. So what I did was I set an expectation, and the bar was really damn low, man. I mean, low. And I said, with these 109 or 15 pages, if I can move one person to do something different that positively impacts somebody else, then it's all worth it, right?
Yep.
Now that's a low bar, but if you think about it, why not set the bar low when it comes to say, it's like, I don't think I can do this, or I can't do this. Well, how about I can do this, but I'm just going to try this much first. At least you're going to go do it. And it's interesting because writing that, and my 23-year-old came in because we've been getting tons of emails and tons of feedback. And I'm talking like deep stuff, Tony. I'm talking deep stuff. Like people are sharing like parts of their lives with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And my daughter, and the first one comes and says, check it off the box, Dad. You already met your goal.
That's it.
And from then on, they've been coming in. It's amazing. So it has made me feel the concept of, I'm glad I put myself out there.
And I think this just popped in my brain. I feel like self-doubt is a little bit selfish. So if you would have doubted yourself and not put that stuff out there, you would have you would have prevented any of those people from being able to have those same feelings that you did.
Wow, that's a great. I love that. Yeah.
And I think too many people stay in that space of fear that they don't have anything more to give, and they do. Who was it? I can't remember now. But they were saying in every single conversation that you have with anybody, they can teach you something. It's just a matter of asking and talking and being engaged and wanting to learn from them and not thinking that you know more than them. But so many people think, oh, I'm just this, I'm just that, I don't have this to give, like you said. And it's totally not true. Everybody has a unique story to share. And what I say is, I was talking to my brother, and I'm jumping around a little bit. And I told him that for the first time in my life, I feel like I can be authentically me. And I don't really care if people like it or not, because the only thing that I have to offer is me. Anybody else can do what I'm doing. Anybody else can design or do marketing or polish or do any of those things, but they don't have me. I'm me. Nobody else is me. And that's the only benefit that I have.
Well, you know something? So this takes me into a little bit of the vein of leadership. I'm passionate about that. Right?
I know you are. I know you are.
So two things I talk about. One's in the book. So, I have a small company. It's small, right?
Yep.
And in Indianapolis, we're competing with some very impressive companies: Eli Lilly, Roche Diagnostics, Cummins Engine, Rolls-Royce. And I've got great people. My team is great.
Yep.
I look at my team like a SEAL team, man. It's the stuff that they're able to do and how they put themselves out there, and they're just hard chargers.
Yeah.
I look at my competition and go, I can't pay what these people pay, right? My benefits have definitely come up significantly. I mean, there were times 3 years ago, I had no health insurance, I had no 401k. Now we have all that stuff. So I'm definitely, we're raising the bar when it comes to that, as requested from the employees. It's like, okay, I got to find a way to do it. But one of the things that I think that I try to use to separate my business from all these Goliaths that can chew me up and take any one of my people is, I hope if you were to engage in a survey with my people, that they would understand that me as a leader and my family leadership, including my wife, do anything for my employees. Anything. And it's that concept of you can compete, but man, you can't compete with my guts because I'm going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I will win.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a concept of, you know, oh boy, I can't compete. It's like this concept of I can create a culture in my organization that is so much different, so much more flexible, so much more forgiving than anybody else can, because we're agile and small, that then they can't compete against me. They might be able to offer more money, but sooner or later you got to look at that money and say, I like my freedom a little bit more. I like my autonomy, or I like the ability that I can run my own business segment and make my own decisions and feel like I'm having fulfillment. I mean, that's right. For me as a leader. I want my people fulfilled, because I can't give them that. And no company can give a person fulfillment. They have to generate it themselves. But I tell you this, companies can take away fulfillment based on how they manage and how they lead.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's one thing that you just said that sparked it. And the other thing that you said, and I totally agree with you, it's this concept that you can learn from anybody when you're talking to them. Yep. But I have not a reverse, but I have a tag off of that. Okay. And that is, as a leader, right? When you converse with your group or individually, you're either putting in the trust bucket or you're taking out of the trust bucket in every single interaction. So think about the concepts. And I forget who I was talking to yesterday. Oh, I was talking to Letha. And Letha runs our Rubber Products Association. She puts together a benchmarking conference. She does a lot of different things.
She's great.
Her husband just started working for a company, and she used the term, you know, that he's trying to understand this culture, but you know, in different areas, they have some hot-headed leaders.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you have to understand the impact of being hot-headed.
Yep.
So Tony, you go out and you're upset. Things aren't going your way. Ralph comes up to you, who's polishing beautifully, because I saw your molds on the foot. Absolutely beautiful. I couldn't even imagine what I was seeing. And you guys have a nasty exchange, and he has to go back and finish a $400,000 mold polishing job.
Yep.
And now, because of that interaction, how did you leave him? And maybe he just doesn't polish as well because now he's preoccupied. Yep. You know, anything and everything. So I think we have to keep that in mind, man. We have to do our best to keep our emotions in check. And look at me, man. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but I also tell people, if I'm upset, I'll say, hey, I've got a lot on my plate, and this is really upsetting to me. At least I'm telling them. I'm letting them know, right?
Yep.
All in the spirit of leadership.
Yep. So, Matt, oh, come on, man. You got a hard name. Matt Poischbeg.
Yeah. He's out of Seattle.
Yeah. Select Plastics is watching on YouTube. And Westminster Tool says, instead of I can't, say I'll try. They had a whole company discussion about it this morning. So,
nice.
You know, these are all things that people are struggling with and really trying to figure out. I had the benefit of doing a job interview yesterday for a guy who we offered a job to. And, you know, just hearing the stories of what his current employer is like, it almost made me sad for the kind of situation that's out there and the way that people are being treated or misled, not led, but misled.
Yeah.
You know, I think it does a huge disservice to everybody. And, you know, to what you pointed out, you know, you shouldn't hate work, right? Like you should not have those interactions where you have to go back to your bench or go back to your desk or whatever it is and pound through the next 6 hours hating the space that you're in, because we spend way more time at work than we do at home with our loved ones. And if you hate that much of your day and you dread going to work, listen, I don't know where you work. I don't know if you work at Alliance. If you do, you should quit and go find another job, because that is way too much time in your life to be disappointed and think that you have to stay in that job that you despise going to, and it breaks down your body. Because when you hold that much anxiety and stress, it's like a cancer in your body that there is no medical cure for. It's just change. You gotta get out of that change.
You know, I think that to pull from that is the concept that as a leader, I feel like I got a great team, and I wouldn't want anybody that exercised his or her option to leave my company,
Yeah.
unless they had an opportunity that I could not give them, I couldn't fulfill. And then I'm applauding it. I want that concept of, man, you left here and you became a lawyer.
Yeah.
Because that was your dream. Or we had we just had an employee leave, but she wanted to become a human resources director, and that's not something I could give.
Right.
And so I applaud that. But I think as a leader, we have to understand that everybody has options.
Yes.
And when you go on the production floor or you go in the office environment, and if you lead understanding that you have options and that you want your employees to choose the options of staying and providing value and growing their contribution, it changes the way you look at your interactions and how you lead. Now,
absolutely.
On the flip side of it, also in the military, everybody's expendable. And I remember we would bone up for military operations, and we would go through the training, and all of a sudden, bam, it's time to exercise. And guess what would happen? The guy in charge of the operation would be the first one taken out. Bam. That's called VUCA. And VUCA basically says it's a volatile circumstance, and the leader who planned the entire operation is now dead. Who's next in charge?
Oh,
That's
I love
the
that.
first thing you learn.
Next man up, right?
Next man up, and next man doesn't have time to think. So they better have been in tune with the mission, the vision, and the values, and what the hell we're going to accomplish in the next 2 hours.
That's right.
And so it's that concept there of everybody needs to be on the same sheet of music, and they have to understand that they contribute at the same levels, but anybody's expendable. That's also what I've learned.
Yep. Right? Scott Peters chimes in and he says, so the hardest thing for my team in China to accept was when I apologized for poor responses or wrong direction. They couldn't handle the boss saying he screwed something up. And he says, but it truly allowed them to see that the boss was human and authentic.
I hope he went from here on the pedestal, Scott, to here on the pedestal.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, anything you read now, I mean, you talk to my staff. We had a situation yesterday. I called 3 board members yesterday, and I basically said, you know, I've had a 10-year problem, and I've lived with it, and it's my responsibility. I take ownership for it. And then I go to the staff. I'm like, man, I really screwed this up. Hey, man, that's where you set the ego aside, and then people begin to grow more and more respect. You know, I talk about legacy leadership, and one of the things, and I know, you know, in the organization over the last 25 years, you know, I've had people come and go, but it is always my hope that they look back at the time that they had an opportunity to where we were teammates, where they walk and they go, man, I've never met a person who had so much passion for the customer, so much passion for taking care of his people. That's what I want. And it opens up when I talk about my funeral, right? I want those people to come as they're drinking some beer and listening to some heavy rock and roll too.
That's it. That's it. Chris Vickroy is on YouTube, and he says, as the father of 3 girls, I always tell them they can do anything, just engage. This is not just for my girls, but should be for everyone. Engage in thought, discussion, teams, and leadership.
Nice.
I love it. I love it. But if you stand on the sideline and you don't engage, you have all these great ideas that may never come to fruition that could have changed the course of the business, the course of the day, the course of anything, but you keep that to yourself. And that's why I was saying, you know, that's a selfish thing to do. You share that. And then if somebody doesn't like it, who cares? Fluff it off. You know, we're all going to be let down and discouraged at some point, but you can't let that hold you back from doing it the next time.
You know something, hey, Chris, good to talk to you. I haven't talked to you for a couple of years, it seems. But I will tell you this. So, you know, I have this concept of the gas tank, and I don't know what page it's on. It's more toward the back. And I tell people all the time that the gas tank is on that quarter full. And during, I don't know if you were there, Tony, or not, one of my keynotes, and I talked about, you know, what does this represent? And a lot of the audience members will say, always look at the glass half full, not half empty. And I totally agree with that. But I told them that, you know, that is me. That's my life. I have a quarter of a tank left in my life. Average American male lives to be 76.1 years old. I will turn 56 years old this August. And
looking good.
that
56 and looking good.
thanks, man. That only leaves me with a quarter of a tank. And I'll tell you what, man, anybody that's listening to this right now, if you draw that little graph and where you're on it, it makes you look at the sunsets a little bit differently and the sunrises a little bit differently. And it also makes it the fact that what you just said, if you're unhappy with your life, change it.
That's
you
it.
have the ability to change it, and you can do it right now.
That's it.
So what are you doing? If you want to lose some weight, then do it. Start right now. If you want to get your bachelor's, then do it. What are you waiting for?
I did a challenge this year where I always wanted to, I love music, but I'm not musical. And I always wanted to learn how to play an instrument, and I wanted to play the guitar. But what I wanted to happen was God to just touch me and say, you can play the guitar, you can play the piano, you are now musical. And I came to the realization that that wasn't going to happen. So I gave myself, and I did a whole challenge online, and I documented it a little bit, 90 days. I borrowed a guitar, and I gave myself 90 days to learn how to play. And I told myself I was going to do 15 to 20 minutes a day and see where that panned out. And now I love it. I love it. That was in January, and I'm still playing 20 to 30 minutes a day and learning it. But all that time, I thought it was going to be too hard. I can't do it. I can't do it. I wasn't following my own advice. And so, I posted a couple videos of the progress of how that was going. And the first one was like, it was humiliating to put out there, right? Because nobody wants to show how awful you are.
Oh yeah, getting your hands right.
Yeah. So bad. And it's just noise. Charles, you did offer me lessons. I know.
That's funny, Charles.
But I had to push myself out of my comfort zone and put those videos out there to hold myself accountable, because then I went to youth group with my son, and I had people that I didn't even know watched the stuff that I put out there say, so how's the guitar going? Are you still doing it? But I put that out there into the world, and now I had accountability. Now I couldn't say, it's too hard, I stopped. Because then what?
It's interesting because my wife and I just had this conversation like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm a self-taught drummer, right?
Okay.
And I'm not good. And so I can play along, and I can make noise. And I actually taught myself how to read music, but my hands don't do what, I bring up YouTube videos. This kid, he must have been like 13 years old, was playing a song by Toto the other day called Rosanna. Yeah. When my wife and I were dating back in the early 80s, and that song would come on, I just think of her, man, right? And so I watched this kid play it, and it's like, I want to be able to do that, but I also know the work and the time that's required to be able to, I never really learned on a snare. I just jumped straight to a set, so I really don't have the foundation. And I'm like, yeah, that's really what I want to be, but is that really what I want to do right now? So time's limited, so I said, no, I'm going to do something else.
Yeah. Well, and I had people tell me like, oh, you're going to learn guitar theory, you're going to learn music theory. And I was like, no, I want to learn how to play a song. That's what I want to do. Like, I don't want to be the next Richie Sambora or anybody that's going to write these crazy songs. I want to be able to sit around the campfire with my family and play a couple songs. That's it. Yeah, that's it. Good. That will make me happy. Camille Sackett from A Seed says incremental gains and accountability partners with 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. So Camille has, so we were on that, the Emerald roundtable, and she did a great job.
Yeah.
But something, when she says that, one of the things that hits me like, it hits me like a brick in the face. And I think for any leader that's on right now watching, is that we're so critical of our gains, and we're so critical of our improvement, that oftentimes we look at what we still need to improve in, but we fail to look at what we've already improved in.
Oh yeah.
And so I realized that the other day. I know where I want my culture to be. I'm actually trying to create a culture, and it's kind of like a Jesus-like culture, in all honesty, where you can say anything at any time. So in our course of our interaction, we as humans automatically judge what's being said. It's just automatic, and
Yep.
we can't help it. And sometimes maybe even in a staff meeting, somebody will say something that'll rub somebody the wrong way. And it's my goal to create a culture that says, hey, wait a second, you just said that, and here's how I felt. But I will tell you that that's really, really hard because, people get bruised.
Yeah.
And but ultimately, I am going to this transparent culture because that's one where nobody has baggage, nobody has ill will, because it's on the table all the time and everybody's balanced. And I think sometimes in organizations, when we're not truthful, when we don't set a culture to allow people to express their emotions, that they begin to hide them deep within themselves, and that creates resentment and distance in relationships. And I don't want that to happen.
No.
But I'll tell you what, it is easier said than done, man. And obviously, the larger the organization you have, the harder it is. But that's really, we hired Tony Robinson back in August, and he's 23 years old, economics degree from Miami of Ohio. And in our sixth or seventh interview, right? I went and met him for coffee at a local shop, and I asked him. We sat down, and I asked him. He said, "How's the interview process going?" And he goes, "You want me to be truthful with you?" And I'm like, "That's why I'm asking." He goes,
Yeah.
"Really?" I said, "What?" He goes, "Really? 7 interviews?
Oh,
Is that
man.
really necessary?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I said, "Tony," I said, "that's interesting that you say that." I said, "We know that you're smart enough to work in this organization.
Yeah.
But do you have the chemistry with us? Will you fit in the chemistry? Will you continue to build our culture?" Hey, everybody watching, when you lose somebody or you gain somebody in your organization, your culture changes.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
So I'm small enough to where we have to be careful. And I told Tony that. Sure enough, he ended up coming on. But here's that concept is, will he be transparent? Does he understand what we're shooting for? And we think he does. And that's why we brought him on. But that transparent culture is something that I'm really working toward. But it is difficult. It truly is.
And every time this kind of thing comes up, I will go back and I will give Westminster and Hillary and Ray all the credit in the world for helping me to recognize that it's not about the talent. It's about the ability to learn and engage and stay curious and want to get better with the people around you. And I think it sounds so simple now that you know it, but for a long time that hasn't been the case. And I don't want to take for granted that they helped me to understand that. So I will always, to every time this comes up, I will give them credit. And people get tired of me saying it, and they'll say, "Man, you talk about Westminster a lot." And I'll say, I do, because I learned a lot from them, and I value, and I have extreme gratitude for how open and honest they are in inviting people to learn what they've gone through and experienced.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. You bring it up. I'm going to call out Susan Denzio. Susan's on our staff, and there's not a person that's on this chat right now that understands that Susan in another organization is actually leading a technical charge. I mean, we are involved with maintaining worldwide standards in this other association that we run. And Susan leads the charge in ensuring that the equations, everything is correct. 3 years ago, she wouldn't have been doing that. Now she's not doing it on her own, but this is a concept of, we've got a great team that they do things that they never thought they would do, and maybe some of the stuff they don't necessarily want to do, but that's all part of the job, right? Wearing those different hats and learning. I will tell you, we can learn anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to shift gears quickly. We've already gone way past the time. I got all the time in the world. You tell me when you got to get off. But
yes. Okay. Yeah.
I want to touch base a little bit on MAPP and AMBA and what's happening in those organizations and what, because everybody listening is probably part of one of those two, right?
Yeah.
And has something to do with our industry, whether it's mold making or molding or plastics or something that in that vein. So what are you seeing? What's happening? What are you hearing? What's the pulse?
Yeah. So the pulse, this is interesting because if we had this interchange and this conversation a couple months prior to everything that we've been through over the last 12 to 16 weeks, which is why you're even doing this, my response would be much different. So if you look at all the data that we've been taking in from, I mean, we've got well over 1,000 companies under our umbrella in 3 major industry sectors. I will tell you the biggest thing that I'm looking at right now, and I'm constantly looking at the trends, is this concept of where are you on your 2020 revenue forecast? Mm-hmm. That's huge for us. And as an association, it's huge because how much money you have in your on your balance sheet often impacts whether or not you will continue to invest to send people to conferences, you know, to send them to training and plant tour events and things like that. And so at this point in time, if you took those 1,000 companies, you could peg about 73% of those 1,000 right now, running, you know, 25% or more off of their 2020 forecast. Okay. 25% or more. Mm-hmm. I got off the phone last night at 6 p.m. with a company that's running at 30% of their 2020 forecast. So, you know, I'm not a doom and gloom type of guy. And I guess part of me is looking at this and saying we have to be resilient. You have to find ways. Some owners are having to get into their pockets where they didn't really want to get into their pockets, right? But they have to do that. I do feel this way, however. I feel there's enough of a resurgence that's happening with all of the members and all of the information that I'm taking in economically, that on the other side of this valley that we're in, there is this amazing opportunity for prosperity. I really, truly feel that way. And I'm not just saying that to make people feel better. I believe this. I know it. I know there are organizations that even could be listening to me right now that have no capacity at all and wishing they had another 12 machines. And so it's out there and it's coming. And I think that we have to be bullheaded enough to say, it's not going to stop me. Going to figure this out and understand that there is a horizon out there that has great opportunity in it.
And I think to piggyback off of that, I've been saying, you know, again, I'm a little bit of an optimist. That I think that we're going to have a solid 2 years of everybody wanting things made in the United States. And I think it's up to us to keep it after that, right? It's up to our industry to do a good enough job and be able to reinvent ourselves to be able to compete with those worldwide players. But we're going to have, in my opinion, a 2-year opportunity to reprove ourselves to the space.
Most definitely. You know, and this is what's different. And I'll call out Lori Harbor of Harbor Results. You know, she's been doing a phenomenal job. She's expanded her staff. The data that she's bringing in is very helpful. But I think the challenge that she's been kind of going back to the industry in plastics and mold building and others that she deals with is you cannot continue to operate in the same vein. And this concept of I know this is a really sensitive topic, but there are businesses right now that have furloughed people. Well, guess what? You can't just bring people back.
No, you can't.
Because you got your loan. And if you already are shallow on your balance sheet, you have to be careful because you have everybody else that you have to take care of too. And so there's different ways of doing business. And this is where I know I'm in the association field, but to be an isolationist, and if there's anybody on the phone right now that hasn't joined either of the organizations, I'm not even selling. I'm just saying, what are you doing? Why aren't you talking to other people? Why aren't you gaining knowledge of, I tried this and this failed? Because that's all we're doing. And it expedites your learning curve. So why wouldn't you want to pay a minimal amount of money to access a community that to me is world class? I guess they take me out of sales now, Tony, because I get so amazingly upset. It's like, why aren't you joining? It's a no-brainer.
I agree with you. And, you know, this is my small soapbox, and I'll bring it up with you just this much. We don't have to get into a whole thing. I think what's hard for our company is being a supplier, vendor, partner, whatever it is. And I think more and more people that I've talked to, and I tend to talk to a lot of supplier, vendor people kind of things. we all think why do we have to just be in that category? Without the things that we do, molds aren't made. So
Most
yeah,
definitely.
we don't physically make the molds. We don't. But without the services and the components and the things that we provide, they don't get made. So why are we pushed over here? Why are we in this separate category box and then saying, let's all do this together? But you guys stay over there. Unless we call you over, then you can come join us. We want to be part of everything. We want to be a deeper part of the AMBA. We want to be a deeper part of MAPP and be able to still sponsor things and still have those tables and do all that stuff, but because we want to, not because we have to in order to show up.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. And I think you actually proved yourself very well. We were having the exchanges around COVID.
Yeah.
You showed up on every single call. I mean,
Yep.
you're running the business too. You got to deal with all the same issues everybody else does, right?
Yep.
And you had great input into that also, ideas that other people weren't thinking about. So, I mean, it's definitely a valid point, man. And I think each and every day, I mean, we're always strapped because of history and things like that, but we're trying to break down some of the barriers to allow everybody to exchange because we can learn from one another.
Yeah. And the last thing about the AMBA conference, I love it. I missed it greatly this year. I know we had to cancel it because it's what we had to do. And I think it was the right decision. You guys did the right thing.
Killed me.
Yeah. What I would love to see, and I don't know how you do it. I would love to see an online or a zip drive version that I could take home and have my leadership team watch and have the guys on the floor watch, because I can't, as a small business, send the amount of people that I think it's necessary to send to learn the invaluable things that we learn at that show. I wish I could. And you guys do a great job of encouraging it and everything else. I just can't. So if we had, even if I got to pay extra, I'll pay extra, but I want to be able to bring that knowledge back, because me coming back and going, guys, I learned this awesome stuff. You got to listen to me. They're like, it's Tony. But to be able to sit down and have that roundtable discussion in our conference room, in our little fortress of solitude, and bounce those ideas around would be incredibly invaluable.
So, this is the opportunity that there's through every major storm, there's always that silver lining, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this is something that we have learned. And actually, Kim Connis this morning talked about how much more comfortable she is with using technology and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't think this is necessarily the new norm, but I do feel that what you and I are doing will never go away and will only continue to increase.
Yep.
So one of the things that happened, I spent over 3.5 years investigating an opportunity to bring true leadership development into the associations.
Yep.
And this is still technically a pilot program. And I was working with the McChrystal group, with General McChrystal out of DC. And actually, I love what the McChrystal group is doing, but they're still not ready for us. But I actually stumbled on the Thayer Leadership Development Group out of West Point.
Okay.
And we now have, and I'm going to get around to what I'm saying here in a second in terms of supplementing. But we did our first round of battle-hardened leadership training in the beginning of December of last year. I took the entire MAPP board of directors up to West Point for a week, and they sat in a room and listened to senior executives, senior military officials that are now retired, all the way from 3-star generals down to full-bird colonels. And they were all battle-hardened soldiers.
Yeah.
And so we studied under their auspices and learned from example of when you're in a critical situation and the bullets are flying, how do you really react?
Yep.
And it was absolutely phenomenal 5-star training. And it's interesting because we had the ability to open that training up. So for the first time in March, it's time to go. I need 35 people to volunteer. And we were getting the registrations in, and then COVID hit. So I took all those registrations and we moved them to June. And guess what? June's not going to happen, but now August is going to happen. But I bring this up because one of the things that our board, one of my board members in MAPP said, is that we can only send so many people to the academy.
Yeah.
We can't send everybody. So how do you transcend what we are taking these values? Because when you go on the academy grounds, man, it's something that people, when they walk away, they go, oh my God, I never knew. I never
Right.
understood. Right. There's so much history there, but not everybody can do that. In the course of doing this, their leadership development group now has the entire platform on this, what
That's
we're
awesome.
doing right here.
Yep.
It forced them to do it.
Yep.
So now we're working with, hey, get a leader up to the academy, and then we open up the virtual event to everybody else in the company. So I'm working through that right now because, Tony, bottom line is I feel that if you're part of one of these associations, the biggest value that my group and my team can give is leadership development, because you know whoever has the best leaders are going to win.
Yep.
That's it. Comes down to leadership, man. And so I'm excited about that. So all the way around, this opportunity is helping us to understand that maybe we can do a hybrid event so that you can come back with a thumb drive. I know in MAPP, we have a little bit bigger budget, so we use TV crews and everything. Yep. And while we're using the TV crews, we're able to download some of that footage and give those that come to the MAPP conference. But it's just a pricey situation. But you have a valid point. We need to improve our ability for when you leave, that you can disseminate your knowledge to everybody else, because then that brings the whole tide up, right? And that's what you're. And
otherwise, it just hits a ceiling. I got to tell you, people get tired of hearing me talk. I mean,
no, I hear you.
And so if you can bring that other information. So Matt asked a question real quick, if you can touch on it. Please talk about the importance of apprenticeship to bring more mold makers into the industry. The lack of is a major roadblock to grow Made in America for me.
Yeah, most definitely. I was actually talking to Matt a couple weeks ago. You know, Matt is up in the extreme northwest part of the country.
Okay.
And you know, he needs mold makers so bad up there, and he's really struggling. And I will tell you that he should be answering this question, because he's the one that has his community college, an unbelievable apprenticeship program. He gets it. And he's got the heritage to understand we have to invest in our youth, and we have to get them excited. And so it is true, man. We need people excited. We need all of our companies to be involved with the training and development of young people. And I think one of the things that we've recently lived through, and I said this, I might have said this during the AmeriMold panel, is the concept of, there was a picture of a patient in a bed.
Yep.
And it had a plastic message to it, because that's all you saw in keeping this person alive were medical devices, tubing, beds, all made of plastic.
Yep.
And I was sent a message to the Plastics Industry Association the other day. We have an opportunity as an industry right now to hit while the iron's hot, to say, if without us, the majority of the population probably wouldn't be here that got infected. And so I think we need to definitely build on that.
I think there's a lot of positive stories that can be told right now. You know, we were at the Plastics News Executive Forum when, I mean, it was like the last thing that was actually live. And it was almost like they were telling you that plastic is a dirty word because COVID hadn't hit yet. So you didn't need clear face masks and headbands and all those things. And it was like, oh, we're going to start using paper as packaging again. And I thought, well, I'm not that old, but I remember when they said, can we give you a plastic bag because we don't want to kill the trees?
Yeah.
And now they want to give you a paper bag because they don't want the plastic. So that short-term memory loss of, oh, we fixed this issue, now let's destroy this thing, then we'll fix this thing and we'll go back and destroy that thing. It's responsibility, it's leadership, it's taking the right actions with the right materials, and it's personal accountability. I think too easily we blame things on circumstance and just follow the lemmings into that thing instead of taking personal accountability and say, I'm going to take this plastic bag home and I'm going to recycle it, or I'm going to keep using it, or I'm going to do whatever it is. I don't need a paper bag. I am incredibly proud to be part of the plastics world because of what we've done and come together in this crazy pandemic situation, on how everybody, like in a drop of a hat, figured out ways that they could help or engage or make a difference, even if it didn't help their bottom line. In some cases, it hurt the bottom line.
No,
right?
Exactly. And they still did it.
You got all these companies that made face shields and all this stuff. To the best of my knowledge, they're not charging full price for molds and runtime and all this. They did it because it was the right thing to do and they can make a difference for the people around them. And to me, I've seen nothing but that in the small 4.5 years that I've been running around this crazy circle, is that it's an industry of people that want to make a difference and help people and have an impact. And I think it's a blessing that that's coming back. So all this stuff that happened, it sucks. It hurt. It ruined conferences. It made us find new ways to do things. But I think in the end, it's going to make us so much better and so much stronger.
I agree.
Stephen Furtick, the pastor out of Elevation Church, he says, how stupid would it be to put the weights down because they get heavy and expect results? Right? It's got to be difficult. It's got to have stress. You got to push through those adversities if you want to get better and get stronger.
Yeah, that's great. Put the weights down because they're getting heavy.
And expect results. That's the key. And expect results.
Or slow the treadmill down, right? Yeah. It's too hard.
Yeah, it's too hard. I don't want to do that. Camille says, amen. I'm not that old, but I remember the PSAs about deforestation and use plastic wisely. How about that for a whiplash? Scott Peters said there are many in leadership in some trade associations that are afraid to stand on the merits of our industry because of the negative media. It's true.
It's true. And you talk about personal accountability. I think it's up to every single one of us when we hear our neighbor going, oh, I can't let my new baby, use a bottle because of the BPA and all this other stuff. It's like, it's up to us. We have personal accountability to make sure that we squelch those inaccurate rumors and misinformation in the marketplace, right?
Absolutely.
And just think, there's 1 million people out there that can do it for us. Over 1 million people.
And there's so much noise in the space, in all the space. Like our whole world is just consumed with noise, and you don't know what's true, what's not, what's lies, what's not. And I don't even think lies is the right word. I think some people have their truth and then other people have their own truth because it's all they know and it's all they've experienced. So they're not trying to lie necessarily, but it's what they know. And trying to disseminate and figure out what's going on through all that noise is exhausting. And I think we just need to keep these platforms open and sharing our truth and our knowledge and our experience and telling people, listen, plastic's not the enemy. It's not the devil. We just need to recycle it better. We just need to have lower expectations in the final finish of the plastic part and go, hey, maybe 99% gray is as good as black, or 99% light gray is as good as white. Stop making it absolutely perfect white. You don't need that. Nobody cares.
Yeah. And you know what? I think we are making strides now. I think in the last several months, we understand the need for, we need better recycling, like you just said, and it's starting to happen. There are major pushes now where it's starting to happen. And so I think we're going to see some results of that. Most definitely.
All right, Troy, you got anything else you want to touch on?
No, I just, how I always end this concept of thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing me to do this. I don't really like the stage. I have significant stage fright every time I get up. So when I woke up this morning, I had and you're a professional doing this. That's a lot better than me. But I had this little pit in my stomach. I didn't want to do this, but actually I kind of enjoyed the exchange. So I appreciate the opportunity. And sometimes I just want everybody to understand. And the other thing that we constantly do in my organization is reflect on how good our lives are, because even though we think we're having bad situations and maybe our lives aren't what they could be, they could always be a whole hell of a lot worse.
Yeah.
So it's that concept of the reason we practice gratitude is because when we practice gratitude, it makes everything that we have enough.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Real quick, anybody listening, do you have a prayer request? We always shut down this show with a prayer because we want to keep that enforcement of positivity and optimism. And I think in a time where God is not welcome, I welcome him into my space, because that's the most important thing to me. So if you are on the chat and you have a prayer request, go ahead and type that in. In the meantime, what I'm going to do real quick is show everybody how to get your book. So all they have to do is go to, they got to go here to Troy Nix, troynix.com/book, and then scroll down. When you get here, enter the coupon code chat, and then you'll get a discount when you purchase that book. So I have not read it yet. I'm waiting for Troy to get over his stage fright and do an audio version so I could just listen to that excitement and get me through my workouts. So I think that will be an awesome thing. That should be your next thing, Troy.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I think everybody should go ahead and order that book, but I may be a little bit biased, and I also am going to go do the same thing and get that book because I want to read it and get me some more Troy time. So
I'm honored. I'm truly honored. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Troy, do you have any prayer requests?
No, I'll go with whatever's out there.
All right. Here we go. Heavenly Father, thank you for this time together. Thank you for this technology that allows us to connect, even though we can't connect. Thank you that we're able to reach an audience that allows us to share our opinions and our views and not be censored and blocked and controlled. We pray that as we go through our day, that the actions that we have would be pleasing to you, that we would grow the people around us, that we would be able to be good leaders, that you would fill us with wisdom and positive decisions for those around us, that we would treat people well and kind and not let our emotions and our stresses get the best of us, but that we could take a pause and respond and not react. We thank you for all that you do for us, all that you give for us, all that you've sacrificed for us. We ask that you would keep us safe and grow our business and help our country. And we love you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Oh, amen. Nice. Very nice job.
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, that was good, man.
I try.
Yeah.
Troy, I want to thank you for giving me an hour and change. I know that it was funny because you said, what is this, like 14, 15 minutes? And I was like, well, I tend to talk long, and I love engaging in conversation with people that I can learn from. And I think you're one of those people. And this is a topic that I think so many people need to hear more about in leadership, because I think as much as there's a lot of noise and space and content about leadership, there's still a lot of bad leaders out there. And we need to keep reinforcing that, because I think somebody hears one nugget of something and they think they have it all, instead of continuing to learn and embrace new ideas and processes and ways to do it. So,
I agree with you. I fall down every day. I have circumstances every day. I try to handle the best I can, but if you think you know it all and you don't think you need to continue to grow as a leader, you're missing the boat, man. You're just missing the boat. You got to read, you got to invest, you got to listen, especially the young people, man. They have such a different view, and I've learned so much from my millennials. It's just amazing. So yeah, dead on. Nail on the head.
I was talking with a kid yesterday or the other day that works here, and I said, how's it going? He said, I'm learning. I said, good, keep learning, because how did I say it? You think you know everything, but you only know everything that you know. You don't know everything that anybody else knows.
Yeah.
So keep staying open, keep learning, keep your mindset. And that's it. That's all I got. Troy, thank you. Thank you for everything you do for me and our team at Alliance, and for the AMBA and for MAPP and for the association, and your entire team is great. I love what you're doing with them. I can't speak enough about the help we get from Kim and Susan and Rachel and the whole team that you have there. So thank you for what you're doing with them.
Full transparency. I don't do anything. they make it all happen, man. Seriously, it's amazing. I really, my handicap in golf's down to 1. No, I'm just kidding. But no, listen, they do a great job. Seriously.
We are having our golf outing in September. Yeah. So we have decided that the hell with it. We're going to get together, and it's outside. And if people want to come, great. If they don't. I don't care. But I want to engage with people. So invitation is open. It's September 25th. I hope y'all can make it out there. I'm going to let you go so that you can have the rest of your day, but thank you so much for being part of it. I really appreciate it.
Rock and roll. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one, Troy.
All right.
All right, everybody. I want to thank you again for watching the Manufacturing Alliance podcast, Chat and Chow. I want to thank Troy for being on here. I want to thank Rachel and Susan and Marcella and his whole crew for helping to put that together. And I want to thank the people that engaged in conversation with us. I know you got stuff to do, and I know it's supposed to be 30 minutes and it went an hour and 9 minutes, but I think we could have talked for another hour about the topics that we covered. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support. If you like this at all, please share it with somebody that you know, and let's help brighten up their day as well. On behalf of myself, Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales, and Troy Nix, take care and God bless.